Thanks, Mr.
Okay, I'll call that meeting to order. This is a workshop. So
Approved agenda or what?
yeah,
Make a motion, to approve agenda.
Second.
any discussion? Any additions to the agenda? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Okay, Beth's not here, so.
She just came.
Oh, Beth is here. Come on up. Pull a chair right up to the table.
I apologize, I was at PTO and they had a lot of
That's
questions.
quite all right. Now, I met with the treasurer this week to go over both budgets.
Okay.
And the school, the school was over 252,000. This is from the auditor.
Okay,
This is the auditor's report. The school was over $252,077. This is what the surplus was
last year.
last year.
Yep.
And I know that you're not responsible for these past surpluses that I'm going through, so. The town had a surplus of 33,990. The year before, the school had a surplus of 290,383. And the town had a surplus of 125,253. Year before that, the school board had a surplus of 507,845 dollars. And the town had 136,228. No, that was 221. This is 2022. Yeah, 531. Well, anyway, so what happened is, and that's all well and good to have a surplus. That means you didn't spend the money, but that's rather unfair to the taxpayer. What we'd rather see you do would be to come back to the town if you needed money and ask, and you certainly would get it.
Right.
No doubt. And so I guess my question is there anywhere you can look into this present budget and find that you may be a little over or
We can certainly try, but I think what we're missing here is that we are coming off COVID years. Where we
correct,
had all that ARPA money,
right,
hundreds of thousands of dollars,
correct,
and now we have none. So you could use the ARPA money creatively, and you could use it to pay for a lot of things through the school. And we had excess funds for the lunch account. We don't have any of that. I can certainly try. We'll go back and talk to, have Sam come, but we have a lot less funds now. We're solely relying on this. And the Title I pays for part of each of our reading interventionist salaries. And the rest of our grant money is much less than it has been in the past. I think when you're looking at those surpluses, every single one of those is from COVID forward.
correct.
And there was so much more that the federal and the state government was just giving away. So is there a certain number that you're looking for?
No. Just a number. If you can.
Doing this was me hiring one less person. So I'm running with one kindergarten next year with projected 17 students. So I know my enrollment numbers aren't in there because I didn't have them, but we just ran kindergarten orientation yesterday and today. And I'm running with 17 kids in the kindergarten class, and we only have 4 pairs in the whole school. So it's going to be tight.
So if we come, we have a meeting next week.
Mhm.
So if you could come back and then just make your case, that's all.
Okay.
I have to ask these questions.
Absolutely. I pay taxes, right?
I know, I understand that. And I also understand that, this wasn't, these aren't your budget.
There's nothing inflated in here. If anything, we are trying to stay as close as we can to bare bones. But the other thing that's hard is knowing that I have 3 open positions and not knowing whether I'm gonna have someone with 20 years come in and apply or someone brand new. And so we're kind of guesstimating on what those salaries look like. I don't know whether or not they're going to take insurance. So I'm adding, this in case they do, because I don't want to end up not having enough for
Mhm.
that either. But we really went middle of the road for everything when we're guesstimating for these. And we do have 3 like in-person interviews this week, so I'll have a better idea of that as well. So that would be it for everybody.
Okay,
Okay,
anybody else have any questions? No? That's it.
oh, great, thanks, sir.
Thank you. And the same. Are you gonna come up? Or is Craig and,
Yeah. Are you inviting
yeah.
me?
The same with yours. You heard me read those numbers and there again. They weren't your numbers, so I understand.
Yeah, I mean, we're proud to, for the second year in a row, come in with a modestly reduced budget. I think
Right.
looking at the other towns in the area, they're upwards of 300,000, almost $600,000 increases in their municipal budget. There's some big savings in here, but I also think there's some healthy investments on certain lines that we've been kind of lacking over the years, and I think it's a healthy balance between the two.
Okay, so, in your budget. I had, I got it, yeah. I had a question, now let me see here. My, my question. Everybody doesn't mind if I go first here.
Yeah, go ahead.
I understand your reasoning for what you were doing with the first selectman salary,
Mhm.
but I don't agree with that. If you want to take the $6,500, that's fine. But I think you should keep the 30,000 in there. God forbid something happened to you and somebody else was gonna take the job. Or something like that. You understand?
Yeah.
So you can take, if we put the 30,000 in there, you could still only take the 6,500. And that would be a surplus. But,
Well,
mean, that's a bit-
respectfully, I'll disagree. I mean, if it's God forbid something happens to me or whatever happens in future elections, whoever is my successor should go in knowing that it's 6,500 across the board. I mean, it's
well, it
every
should- it
penny
should-
matters.
The first selectman's job has always been paid more than the Board of Selectmen.
But
Because
we
the
don't-
first selectman takes more responsibility than the rest of the board.
And I'm prepared to do that for the same amount of money as number 2
Well,
and 3.
and that's the reason I'm telling you that we should keep it at the same salary. 30,000. I mean,
So-
I understand your point, but I'm just saying what my point is.
Right.
And the rest of the board agrees, then we should put it back.
Well, I mean, we've been pretty frugal with our budget, so
And the same with the third selectman who only wants to take $1. I mean, he wants to take he's got to take the 6,500. He doesn't have to take the 6,500, but he has to take $1.
Mhm.
Or if the second selectman wanted to take just,
so the third
you have
select,
to take
Yeah.
$1.
the third
cannot-
selectman opted to have his
But
reinstated.
you
So it's-
cannot take the money and authorize the town to give it to somebody else. You have to take the money and the taxes have to be taken out of it.
Right.
And then you do whatever you want with it.
Well, that's fine. 6,500 across the board. We're each getting paid. I think if the time comes, we're definitely in a financial situation to up the money. If the successor for selectman chooses, he or she, that they need more money, that's up to them. That's their budget. This is our budget that we're presenting. And the
And
town should
once
go,
it gets here, it's our budget, so we have the right to, up it. So to speak. There was one other question I had for you, and now you throw me off. That's all right, wasn't that important, I don't think. No, oh, there's gonna be surpluses. In the budget, in our whole town budget.
Mhm.
Is there any, major projects? Bridge projects or anything that's not gonna be covered by state projects? I was always interested in that West Main Street,
West Main needs to get
that
that.
little bridge there.
Yep.
Is that gonna go under LoSiP or is it going to be,
It's gonna be a,
Local
com-
project.
it's gonna be a combination of both. So right now with the steep grant, the next round that's coming out. Where we need engineering assessments for Sand Road, West Main, North Elm, and Old Turnpike South. And all of those need to be completely stripped down to soil, all new drainage considerations, and then resurfacing. But that bridge in particular, it'll be a hybrid of our current reserves and LoSiP money. Working.
so
with
you're
the fire
gonna use
district.
some of that surplus?
Yeah.
Because, I met with, the
We need to
treasurer.
spend it, yeah.
And some of that money has to be spent.
Yep.
And we should be spending on some of those projects that we didn't have the money for before.
Right.
Anybody else got any questions?
Yeah, I got a couple. So I'll start with what I agree on. I agree on the transfer station wages. I think they've done a really great job and it's nice to see all the improvements down there. And I agree on the increase of the tree removal line. One thing to consider with the tree removal line, this is more of a volunteer effort in conjunction with you and the beautification committee, is to create a vegetation management plan for the town. I've seen other towns do that. It could be a great thing for us to do, but it would have to be done by volunteers. So that would be something for you to think about. I agree with Doug on the first selectman salary line. It's an issue of who's next, if there is a next. And, you know, you could choose to take however much you want. And if you choose not to take it, then that's something you could say, and that's a great thing.
Would you take 6,500 for it?
All things considered, possibly. Depends on where business goes. I've dealt with quite a lot over the last couple of months with my projects and federal funding, but depends on how my business is. So anyway, town attorney costs, I know we spent quite a bit last year and it was more on the assessor than anything else. I had mentioned about the thought of splitting that line between zoning, tax collector, assessor, personnel, and miscellaneous concerns. Is that something that you've thought of, or?
Yeah, we talked about it. It was more convoluted to make more accounts. When we get the invoices for whatever the legal expense is. So whenever we get those invoices, Paul is gonna annotate, was it for zoning, was it for the assessor? And then once you guys get your monthly reports now, it's not just gonna reflect an expense on the legal line. You're gonna see notes that this was for P and Z, this was for the assessor, so it helps you kind of categorize where that's going.
And some of those expenses are reimbursable with insurance. So has some of that insurance money come in for us?
Not yet.
Okay. Building official salary for the clerk. I saw that increase, but I didn't see an increase for the social worker and the tax collector. I was wondering if we could provide an increase for those two people because they're also very instrumental, or if we could equalize that raise.
So the social worker did not want to raise because she's on she has a secondary income that doesn't allow her to make more money.
Understood.
And the tax collector did not want a raise for herself for her submission.
Understood. Town crew overtime. So we don't have a crew member right now. Do you predict the need for that increase, or do you think that you could really hold the line
Yes,
where
we
we
hope to
are?
hire somebody soon, and then with their 4% raises coming in July, that's gonna obviously increase that line.
That's the reflection of that. Okay. With the LoSiP funding, I understand that we've been getting grants and that's great. Is there going to be a LoSiP plan, like many towns write a plan for what kind of grants that they're gonna apply for? And then that makes that publicly available and people can comment on what kind of grants that they'd like the first selectman in the town to get?
Yeah, once the governor finalizes his budget and we understand all the state money that is gonna be coming to us, then we can put that plan together.
Okay. So the transfer station operations, so I understand, you know, you made the budget lower to, to be able to say that, which is great. But I was thinking with the operations, would it make sense to actually keep the line where it is as opposed to reducing it by 10K? So to allow the existing staff to really continue making the improvements down there that can be made.
No, so we've had a lot of discussions with the team down there. They've been very transparent and forthright with what they're able to do with the money that they have. And because of their hard work and the efficiencies that we've made, we're able to reduce that line to a responsible number.
Okay. With bulky waste, I understand the efficiencies there. But do you think with the Mura situation that we should hold that line so that way that in case we have a situation where we have to pay more, we have the money budgeted there for that?
Again, no, we've done reasonable projections. We've been in conversation with the COG and understanding where Mira is going. That concern is for 2027, consulting with the other towns for the next fiscal year. We're okay.
Okay.
And we have to, as a town, we have to supply the funds to get rid of garbage. Yeah.
Right, that's my point.
That's under the state law. Well, I mean, doesn't make any difference what the cost is. We've got to come up with it.
Right, and I'd rather have it be budgeted for than us having to pull out of the general fund or another line. There's an issue.
But if you don't have, this has been my point here. If you don't have to use it, you're carrying that surplus and that winds up in the auditor's report.
Got it.
Just went over.
Got
You're
it.
better off coming back and saying at a town meeting, we need such and such $50,000 for garbage and we have no choice.
Mhm.
Rather than put it in the budget, and if you don't need it, then you're
Yep.
carrying that over your head.
Got it. Okay. So I have a big question with ambulance operating, and this is a confusing point for me because I'm not involved with the ambulance. But someone brought up to me that North Canadian Ambulance has an agreement with Trinity, and somehow there's a cost sharing component to that.
There's no contract with Trinity.
There's no contract with Trinity, so we as the town are floating the costs for the ambulance with insurance reimbursements for when the ambulance is called. Is that correct?
I'm not sure exactly what the contract is, but there's no involvement with Trinity Ambulance.
Right, so my question is so that question's been answered, but my question is, we as the town, as the taxpayers, are floating for the operational costs of the ambulance as well as helping with
Not
capital
all of it.
improvement.
Not
We're
all
not
of it, no.
doing all of it. Yeah,
No.
that's my.
It's the same with the fire department. The fire department's budget is upwards of 200,000. We supply the 130, they fundraise the rest or get their grants, however that works. So we're subsidizing the operating costs.
Understood. Okay, that's fine.
And with the
Um,
significant call volume that the ambulance has, over 1,000 calls a year compared to the fire department, which is 200 to 300. Advanced life support, they need the paramedics, there's the cost for the ambulance far exceed what the fire department's going through. Now, the fire department has gone up significantly with training and inspections and vehicle maintenance and, all of what they're mandated to do. But this $20,000 increase for the ambulance operating is more than justified. And
Understood.
their vehicle line item for the non-recurring is held flat. Where we're increasing the fire department, which they've pleaded for, is a 40,000 increase on their truck line, so we can hopefully place the ladder truck in 7 years.
Yeah, I understand that, and that makes sense. So that answers my questions there. You had reduced the local relief line for social service by $2,500. Can you explain that a little more?
Yeah, so that we just got a grant from the United Way for 5,000. So in order for us to help our budget, we reduced it by 25, but we actually gained $2,500 more through that grant in the United Way.
Got it. And I saw that grant on Facebook. The charities, I had a question about that, but I think Doug, you kind of answered that before the meeting with the shore service, because I saw that increase and I was like, what's going on here?
Mhm.
Glad to see that Houstonic River Commission and the other committees are still on there, but I think that question on my end's been answered. Social service, or social worker salary we discussed. The pool salary increase for extended hours. I was wondering if there was any statistics about the need for extending the hours And if the hours are extended, if statistics of usage could be tracked to see if we're actually getting the bang for the buck out of that.
I can talk with the Recreation Commission.
Okay. And contingency costs, 005. I believe that's for the events committee, but I wasn't quite certain. Can you explain that one?
What's the name of it?
It's under I-005. I'm gonna see if I can find the exact line. Here it is.
Contingency is just another discretionary fund.
Yeah, and it was 7,000 and then we decreased it and now it's increased again. So I was just wondering what was happening there, if we're moving money around or,
Yeah,
and for what
Yeah.
purpose?
just a discretionary fund in case we need it. Happy to reduce it even more if you'd like.
Well, I think I'm just wondering why we're doing it.
Yeah.
You know, is it for the events committee or is it for
It's
someone else?
discretionary.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
discretionary. I don't know. I think that's something that you'll have to look into. And one thing that I, as a selectman, was never comfortable with was miscellaneous expenses and discretionary spending. We did a lot under that administration to reduce miscellaneous line items. So that's something I call you to consider.
Yeah, great. We'll cut the budget even more.
That's all I have.
What basically have you used discretionary spending on, so, in the
Uh,
past year?
it could be certain supplies, or if there's certain equipment in the town hall that we needed to do, or if social
So you
work.
didn't have budget,
Right,
correct, that's the way it's always. been.
Yeah.
And you haven't changed anything that's been that way.
No.
Something related to that, I had forgotten to type up in my notes here, is that I noticed that the town hall maintenance got decreased by 2,000. So if you're gonna decrease the discretionary line, it could make sense to offset that line.
Yeah.
That's all I have.
Anyone else?
I don't have any questions.
No? On that rec commission there, that whole salary.
Yep.
I think it's justified because being down to ball field quite a bit in the past 2 years, well, since the kids, and yeah, my son works as a lifeguard. They're busy at that pool. Believe it or not, the people rather be in that pool than being down inside, like inside of a building in a hot pool. And people come right to the time they're closing, trying to get,
And I know they're trying to capture more hours in the beginning or end of the season. Minimum wage went up, so that all
Yeah.
contributes to the increase.
And unfortunately, for what they have. I mean, they're competitive with pricing, with the wages, so you can't really knock it that hard. Especially when it's benefiting the people in the town. For having that option.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks.
All right, we can't act on anything. This is just a workshop. Correct? Correct. So those items which, well, I think the only thing is if anybody want to say anything about any of the line items on the budget that are here to represent, I thought.
Oh,
they
yeah,
could
well, I'll
speak.
get to that.
Okay,
I'm talking about us here.
okay.
Is there anyone else? Let me, you got your agenda there?
Yeah.
Can you take mine?
Oh, I got one, no. Right there. You gave me.
Public comment. If you have a public comment, please stand up there. So that you can,
Stephanie Grant. About the pool. It's one of the many perks that North Canaan has, to be able to be here and use the pool for our kids. And you don't have to pay anything because we pay tax dollars for it, right? And the hours that these lifeguards are working all day throughout the summer is really important. They're keeping our kids safe. And if you had gone to the pool and you would see people are there once it opens and they're getting kicked out at the end of the night. And there are people trying to come in. And that's not a bad thing. It's just, there's a need for it. And with the kids that are going back to school at the end of the season, we've always historically closed the pool real early. And there's plenty of days that the kids want to go and swim. So I recommend that for the community that we try to work with the extended hours. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. So, before we adjourn, we have those items that we will be addressing at our next regular meeting, which is next Wednesday. You can either, well, you don't have to change it until we vote on it, but, correct?
Mhm.
That's it. So, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And please come next Wednesday.
Yeah.